Hello dear group members. Today I will make a correction to a drawing, and the image which you see on that side of your screen is a picture. It's a digital picture, so I can't touch that. It's a digital picture. It's in front of my screen, and that's the image which we will need to correct. But firstly I will talk about a few things before I start to go over the correction. So I hope that the internet connection will be good for us. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, please let me know. Write them down in the comment section. Also, if you have the possibility, share the video so others can watch it. Our community could grow a little bit more. Alright, so as usually I start with the basics, and I know I talk too much about the basics, but they are pretty important. And I will start with drapery, and somewhere in my older videos I showed you already some draperies, and I will draw one from my imagination. It's not important how it looks. It's important what we do with it and what we can learn from it, right? And this is the simplest drapery which we can draw for a beginner. We need to remember that it's suspended in one point. You don't need any material, any fancy material. It's a t-shirt. You can put a t-shirt, and it could be one color, or white, or one color type, right? And you just suspend it on a single point, right? And let's see if I put my light from this direction. That means that one side of the drapery will be a little bit darker, the other side will be less dark, right? And we will have a nice light on it. So if I start to develop my light and shadow, I think about the drapery as being a cylindrical shape, right? If we have a cylindrical shape like this, and we know that the light is coming from here, we know that this part will be the light part, and this part will be in shadow, right? The same thing happens with the drapery. Just we need to know how the planes are going, because if we are drawing just a simple cylinder, we know that the shape of the cylinder is like this, right? It's cylindrical, the shape, and it's the same every time, right? But not the same in a drapery, right? the drapery is a little bit different. I'm sorry about the camera. Some of the time I push the camera. The camera is in front of me, so. Alright, so we need to focus on the shape of the drapery. So if you look with attention, the shape here on the lower side, it's visible, and you know that the shape will come like this, right? Which means that if you have the light from this part, you will have a narrow part of light, right? And this part will be in shadow. So if I start to make the shadow, you will see that the shadow part is a little bit different than on our cylinder, right? Also the part of the light is different. The light is narrower because of the shape, right? The same thing happens over here. If you are imagining how the shape is going, it's like going like this, right? Which means that the light will hit here, which means the light will be a little bit wider, and this will be the shadow part, right? And this goes up until there, right? If you are taking it to the upper side, right? Let's see another one. This was an easy one. This was let's see, number 1 for beginners, right? But let's say if we have a drapery put down on a table, and our drapery looks like this. And it's going like this, right? And here, this is our table, right? What will happen here if we have the light from this part, right? The same direction. You need to imagine how the form turns, right? It turns inside, goes inside, and goes outside, right? These lines can be very fine lines. You don't push too hard the pencil, right? But they are very important, so you can understand how the shape turns, right? And if you know how the shape turns and you know the direction of the light, you know that the light will come like right here, right? And this part will be in shadow, right? So I can come with shadow on this part, right? I know that here inside is shadow, so I will go with shadow inside. It will be a little bit darker, that shadow, than the other one. This is the transition between the shadow and the light, right? And as I know how my light comes, like this, right? It will come on this part, right? And it will leave a nice cast shadow there, which can be like this, right? And here we have light. So our material is turning like this, right? The same thing happens here, the same thing happens all over if you are drawing some material, right? Some drapery. If you have a drapery like this, let's see, you can put after this one, you can put another drapery which is suspended in 2 points, right? And it will look like this usually. Right? It's looking like this. So what you will do when the light is coming from here, how you understand the form, the shape, and how you understand where the shadow will come. You understand the same thing. You come with the lines, like, you know, here it comes out, goes inside. Here it comes out, it goes inside. Here it comes out, it goes inside, right? And you know, where it comes outside, there's a little bit light. Where it goes inside, it's shadow, right? Where it's outside is light. Where it's inside, it's shadow, right? And it goes right like this, right? You know how it comes because you know the lines, you know the profile of the material, how it turns, right? It's really important, those lines which shows you where the material goes. It's really important, not just when you are drawing draperies. You will see a little bit later when I do the correction. It's important when you are drawing portrait, when you are drawing hands, when you are drawing anything, like you are drawing some trees. It's important to know that line, right? And you need to exercise those lines. You need to exercise those lines. So you are drawing them very fine, and you can erase them after you have finished the drawing. You can erase them, and you can go and finish your drawing, finish your lights and shadows, right? But they are very important to understand the shape and the form, how it turns, how the shape looks like, right? Okay, so here we have a drawing made by a group member, and I will show the same thing what happens here. And now you see that picture on the screen. I have put that picture on the screen, but I have the same picture on paper, right? I have printed out also. It's not the same because the printer is a little bit worse than the picture from the image, but I can watch what happens with the picture and with the forms in the picture. Let's see. Let's take I will take a nice this is a marker, and I will try to demonstrate the same thing here, what is missing here, right? So I will put this on my wall, right? And what happens, right, if you are thinking if you are thinking about the shape, right, how it goes, the shape here, right? If you are taking the same lines as we did on the drapery, right? Let's take this marker and let's see how the shape turns. The shape turns like this, right? You see? And you can do much more. You can do a lot of these kind of lines. You see? And the same thing happens on the other side. It's going down, it's going down like this, right? You can use the line, the shape line, in other form, another shape. You can see how the shape is going like this, right? You see the shape which is going like this, right? And from here it's going like this inside, right? So if I know that my light will come from this part, from here, right? Because here we see the light hitting, so we have the light from this part. We know that this part gets light. This is a transition. Here is a transition, and here's the shadow, right? And the same thing happens here. If you don't estimate your line, your form line, like this, right? The form will not have the consistency which you need. As you can see here, I will go with my marker, and it's like this, your shape. You see? And the shape isn't like this, it's like this, right? This shape, like here, it's pretty good, right? But this shape isn't. Another thing, this will come until here, right? And also the bottom part is a little bit more rounder. As you can see here, it's more rounder, right? Right? You can see the problems with it, right? And this part is really nice. This part, it's really nice, right? This part could be a little bit more, have more depth to it. Let's see further. If we start to measure, if we measure this, it takes once and almost twice, right? That's about 3/4. But what is interesting, that this measurement, the wideness, is going till the line of the bone, right? if you are doing the same thing at your drawing, that line goes over your line of the bone, right? The bone got a little bit too low, right? Also, if I take the same measurement and I measure once and then measure twice, that is good. It's going to be there where you did, right? But this point got a little bit lower than it should, right? Also, we can measure the height of the soft tissue of the nose. So if we are looking at it, it's about 1 3/4. So if I measure the same thing here, it's 1, 2 and half, right? It's too small. It's too small, this, right? Let's see once more. Measure once more. Once and 3/4, almost full, right? It goes until a little bit more than the middle. The middle would be like here and it goes till here. So if we have the middle here, right, then our soft tissue would need to go till here, and that's a pretty big amount of shape there, you see. And the same thing would need to happen on the other side. Right, and now you can see that it's much better, and this should go a little bit higher. So when you are doing some measurements, you need to be careful, right? Another thing what I don't see on your drawing is the middle axis of the drawing. So there's a middle axis on the maybe you have erased that, but it will need to be there, right? That's a pretty big mistake here. You see the height of the nose, right? Another thing, that nose, if you put this on the other part, we don't need it because we have the digital one. If we took let's measure, right? We told that this is once, twice. Let's see, I do it like this. This is the middle. This will be the bone, right? And it's still here. That's my measurement. And once I measured I know that it's a little bit bigger than the middle, the height of and that will be like here, right? If I start to draw, it will come till here, right? And that's the middle of the nose. It will come like till here, right? So the two parts will be alright. The thing is, the shape isn't good, right? Every shape like I showed you here on the other drawing. Every shape has his form, right? As it's here, this form, right? As this form, as those forms, right? And those forms needs to be really, you need to observe them really hard, right? And here it's not the same shape, right? Because the shape looks like this. It's not the shape, the big shape isn't right. It's not, you can't understand this. You need to feel it, you need to draw it. So it's not understandable. Someone, when it does your corrections, you have to pay attention and you have to watch closely what happens there. This is a problem when you are drawing after pictures, because in pictures you don't see the form, the shape, right? If you have a model in front of you, you can watch those forms, how they are how to say that, they are drawn, because you can look at your model in different poses. You can look at your model from different angles, right? And you can understand the shape. But since you just use a picture, you don't see the form, the shapes, right? Because you don't see a form, you see just a two-dimensional picture. That's why it's harder to understand what I make here, because it's not in front of you, the model, right? So now I will start to draw this, and I will show you how it happens. That's why I don't like the online teaching, because you can understand some things, but if you don't have a model, then you can't observe it, you can't see, you can't watch what happens there, because it's just a picture, right? So we have the nose like this, like here, and we know that it's pretty wide, right? And we need to know like this, I think like this, and it goes till here, and we take the same measurement. This line isn't straight. One more thing I want to mention, that this shape has a characteristic form, so that form will come like this. It's a little bit like this, right? This going inside. It has a nice shape, the nose, right? And now if I look at that shape, how it looks, that shape is a little bit more rounder in this model, right? And that means that my shape will come like this. It's going down, it's going like this, right? This isn't good. It goes more inside, right till here. The same thing happens on the other side. It goes till here. The same thing happens here. my hand starts to shake. It's not easy to draw on wall with a camera in front of your face. It will come like this, right? And the shape of the middle shape will come like this. It will be a little bit more rounder. And those lines, you need to make them really soft. I push a little bit the pencil so you can see what I'm doing, but those lines are really soft, right? And if I know that the light will come here, from this part, right, then the light will hit here, and since this is my shape, the shadow will come like this, right? And I can start to go with my shadow because this is my shape. Right? And I measure all the time so I don't waste my drawing, because look what I do if I don't measure. Right? So you need to measure. And that's the shape, right? Here we have the shape like this. It's coming like this, right? Which means here we will have light, we will have a transition, and we will have the shadow. The shadow will look like this. You can draw with your pencil the limits of the shadow, and you can start shadowing just till you have done the sign for your shadow, right? You see, it's visible. And from here you do a transition. The same thing happens over the other part. If you are looking very carefully, you have light on this part. It's not that amount of light what you have here, because it's in the shadow part, but it's a little bit lighter there. Yes, but you can make the whole thing a little bit darker, because the whole part, this whole part is in shadow, right? You are looking after that shape. Which has the interior of the goes inside, right? And that has good amount of shadow. And this is a little bit more rounder here, right? If you know how your shape will come, you can put a sign with a line, right? Those transversal lines, you don't need them. You need to know them. You don't need to draw them, but you need to know about them. right? So you can define your shape, the form. And all those things are the right place. You can erase them, right? But you need to define the shape. You need to define the shape, right? If you have a cylinder, let's make one more cylinder here, right? We have a cylinder right here, and our cylinder, it's looking like this. Right? And we talk about the light from here, and we know that we have the light part here. But what if we don't know what kind of shape is? We can't tell what kind of shape, and we will do that kind of shape like this, right? And we will start to make the shadow on after that kind of shape, how it will look, because we know if it's a cylinder, then the shape of the cylinder is like this, all the time is like this, right? If you have a drapery, you need to observe how the planes are coming, right? This is a plane. This is another plane. And this is another plane, right? In the cylinder we have the planes like this, right? And in this plane we will have the light. In this plane we will have the transition, and this plane will be the shadow. The same thing happens here. This plane will be the shadow part, this plane will be the light part, and this plane will be middle tone, right? The same thing happens over everywhere, right? If you are looking at this, we have one plane, we have two planes, we have three planes, 4, 5, and 6, right? You know that this plane here is light, this plane is transition, this plane here is shadow, right? The same thing happens over this. We have planes, right? This is one plane, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, right? But these planes aren't straight planes, they are curved planes, right? And since they are curved planes, we know that the light will come in a curved manner, right? It is understandable like this. Okay? Let me know if you have question, right? So I know what you don't understand. If I'm here, I'm not here for doing just drawing. I'm here to explain to you some things, right? And we have the cast shadow, right, which is pretty dark. Someone asked me today about cast shadow, right? Wait a minute, let's take another paper. It will be better. You just need to exercise, and you need to be careful. That's why I told you that you need to draw some basic things, because if you can't understand what's happening here, right? You will not understand what is happening here, and this will take you a little longer. Yes, this will take you at least 1 year to understand, right? You start with the simplest drapery, and you go and you draw much more complex draperies, and you watch them and you learn from them, right? So someone asked me today about the cast shadow, right? And I go back again to our beloved sphere, right? And we have the light from here, let's say, and we have the light here, we have the shadow part, and we have here a little bit reflected light, and we have cast shadow, and cast shadow is this one, which is beneath the object, right? That cast shadow is the most darkest shadow from all the drawing, right? And it's more darker on the bottom, where the object meets the table, right? That's the shadow here, and you can draw the shadow line, right? You can take your pencil and you can draw the shadow line, and you can follow that shadow line with your pencil, right? You can go after that. You see? You don't mess up your form, right? You are not going over like this, you are going right where it needs, right? That's where your shape will become nice and clean. Right? And from here we have the middle tone, which is a little bit less dark than our shadow, right? And it goes a little bit around the light, right? And this is the shadow. If I draw pretty harsh, right? This is the shadow part. I'm using a 4B pencil for this, right? It's visible. It's visible. Maybe the light is going right. Right? And this is the shadow, right? Shadow. Some of the time is called core shadow, right? Core shadow. It's because core shadow is between the middle tone and the reflected light, right? This is the middle tone. Middle tone, right? And this is the light. This one is the bounced light. Which will come like this, bounced from the surface, right? And this is cast shadow. Right? After this, you need to know how to blend, right? This needs to be blended with that shadow or the core shadow with the middle tone. And then you will come with your pencil and you will start to blend those two values, right? As you can see on the upper side. Also the middle tone needs to be transitioned to the light. So you will take an HB pencil or an H pencil. You will make a nice transition, right? But what is important is that, right? The cast shadow is the most darkest shadow, and it's the most darkest right under the object. Okay? Is there any questions? Right, as you can watch on the digital drawing on the other side, on the right side of the screen, we have a bounced light on this part, right? And we know that this part is so dark because it's a cast shadow part, right? Because this shape cast shadow on the lower part, right? Also this part is a little bit more in shadow. Right? And we have a nice shape here. It goes like this. And it's unified with this shape. Right? So, any questions? I know that it's the last day from the week, so people are usually too tired to watch live sessions, but the video will be up in the group, so you can watch the video later. Right, I made a little bit longer than your nose, but it's a little bit less higher. So also my my limit for the bone will be lower. Yes, those types are there, but they are a little bit less visible because it's a really fine shape, right? if you are thinking about cast shadow, right? This is here cast shadow, this is here cast shadow, this here is cast shadow, right? This shape casts shadow on the other part of the object, right? This is a great example of casting shadow. Also beneath the object, as you can see, is the most intense and most darkest part of the picture is a cast shadow, right? This part is shadow, right? Between the shadow, like this. Let's make with this is the shadow, right? This is middle tone. All this is middle tone, right? And this is light. Right, I will write there it's light. This is middle tone. Right, and this is shadow. Right, and this is here. All this here is cast shadow. Right, beneath this one is cast shadow. Right, here it's shadow also. Right, shadow. Here how the form comes. The form comes inside. It comes outside. It goes inside, right? And you see the shape is changing. Here the shape starts to be a little bit more deformed. This shape is a little bit longer, right? And this is shadow here. Shadow, right? Between shadow, this is middle tone, right? This is light. Light. And this is light till here, right? And from the shadow to light, all this is middle tone, right? Middle tone. Alright? Other questions? We have about 6 minutes, so if you have questions, let me know now. Alright? I have uploaded once more the nose pictures and the difference from the other pictures, or that I have wrote on them a number like nose number 1, right? And I want to ask you, if you are doing your homework, I want to ask you to post your drawing with your homework on the wall of the group. And you can post your work without the reference. You can write the reference is the nose number 1, right? And you can post your drawing, because it's really hard for me to find your homeworks in comments. Not in the first place, because when you are drawing, you are writing the comment, I will find it because I get notified about your comment. But after 2 or 3 days, if I don't watch the notifications, I won't be able to find your homework on in the comment section. So I want to ask you, if you are making any homework from now on, please post your homework on the wall of the group, and write just there the picture number, right? It's nose number 1. This is the number 1 reference for the nose, because it's much easier for me to find your homework, right? Another thing I want to mention, that it seems to me that in 1 or 2 days max I will finish the eye, and we will have a new homework with the eye. So that's I think it's exciting. I think in about 2 weeks we will have all the parts of the face. So let's put this here. So the whole picture is visible. Very welcome, dear Simona. I hope that it was helpful, and let me know if you have new drawings, and try not to stop with still life drawings, because you need it for your basics, right? As you saw, we had a lot of things about basics, which are really important far away a little bit when you start drawing more complex shapes, right? And it's not just about portraiture, but even if you are drawing nature, if you are drawing animals, if you are drawing trees, you will need those basic things, so you can see and understand the forms and the shapes, right? Yes, I have put all the I put number on all the images which I have put in a new album, but under the post, the homework post, I can't change the pictures. They will remain the same. I will try, but I don't know if I can. Also, that homework post will be deleted. When I put the new homework post, I will delete this, and you will remain with the images in a nice album. I do new albums for every picture, and you have an album for the nose reference, and you will find those new images with the numbers on them, so you can find easily. The post with the homework will be deleted in about 2 days or 3 days. When I put the new homework, I will put the new homework with numbered images, and the older homework will be deleted. So those images which doesn't have the number on them, they will disappear from the group, right? Other questions if you have? Now or never. I think my light setup is better than yesterday or 2 days ago. I think my video is a little bit more clear, so I hope that it's more visible what I did. I will keep an eye on the quality. Right. So I will wait about a minute, and if you don't have any questions, then we will stop here. Alright, so if you don't have any questions, then I will say goodbye, and I think we will meet next week in a live session, and I hope that till then I will put the next homework, and yeah, good night to you, Simona. Thank you for watching, and I hope that it was pretty understandable what I made. I wish you all the best. Goodbye.